a tiny home. You could build your dream home with premium finishes and things. So it's one of the things that really attracts people is that ability to really customize and get what they want.
Yeah. And the thing that makes us unique in the tiny house industry is we are one of the only tiny house companies that is actually building to true 4-season standards. So all of our models use triple pane windows. We exceed building code requirements for insulation, and we build from a lived perspective. So my wife and son and I, we've lived in our tiny house on wheels for the last 3 years. Josh has lived tiny for almost 7 years.
More on the water side, but my wife and I, we lived on a boat for over 8 years actually, year round. So here in Hamilton. So no stranger to being off grid and to living tiny. So this was a natural fit to get into this.
So the big thing about us as well is it's intentional design. Not only do we build around your hobbies, your lifestyle, but it's that functional use of space. We don't build like a condo where here's box, figure it out. Ours are chock full of functional storage, hidden storage, additional storage. We have 4 seasons. You've got 4 seasons of clothing, so you need 4 seasons of storage space. So that's how we build and how we design our homes, is around that hyper efficient design. So as you're all here from a investor perspective, you're probably wondering what's the cost associated with doing something like this?
So costs really depend on a lot of different factors. So size being one of the biggest factors. A 20-foot house is not nearly the same cost as a 40-foot house. You are saving on building materials when you do build tiny. And so that is one of the things is you can go more premium with your appliances and that sort of thing. Those things do somewhat significantly vary the cost. And the different features. Do you want a fully off-grid package? Do you want all those premium features? Some people really like to tech out, and in a small house and not only go off grid, but they want their entire house to be automated and LED, RGB lighting throughout and EV chargers and all that kind of stuff, right? The world's your oyster, especially when you're dealing with a custom builder. But again, that can vary the price. With that being said, prices can vary drastically between 100,000 all the way north of 300 if you want that really premium, large, and fully custom. Yes, there are models which you can get for definitely the lower end. What we've been seeing, the trend in the industry, especially in the last couple of years, especially since COVID, is that the dream of really building and owning a tiny house under 100K is not very attainable unless you're a DIYer. Okay. Yes, it's still attainable because you can do things with reclaimed materials and all that kind of stuff. But if you are looking to have one professionally built, you are now looking, just the realistic number, you are looking north of 100. So again, as a professional builder, we are managing that.
We've streamlined the entire processes so it's hyper efficient, so that we can actually build an entire house in 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow. That's great.
So that's premium build also.
Well, ultra premium can take 3 months, but
yes. Quick question. Yeah. What's out of those 8 weeks? What's the portion that takes the longest in your process?
So 90% of the work is the last 10% of the work.
Yeah.
Just the finishing.
Yeah, there is. The trailer is usually at least a month or two, possibly even more of a lead time to get quality built trailers. And we'll kind of we're about to
talk on that.
Is this my segment?
No, that's good.
No, this is you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll let you, I'll let you take over the trailer.
Brandon
but,
uses the exact same trailer manufacturer as us, so he's familiar with the
Yeah.
process there. We only use Kangaroo trailers. They're one of the few trailer manufacturers in the area that we trust.
and local. Support
And they're
local.
local. Yeah, they're Hamilton area. So what if you are looking at tiny house on wheels? Trailer is the most important thing for you to consider because it is your foundation. There are a lot of people, DIYers, that will go and use a old hay throw trailer or an old RV trailer, and oh my God, is that the worst no-no that you can
Please
possibly
don't.
think of? They are not rated for the weight capacity, and they will collapse. Not an if, they will collapse. It's
Trailers
just-
and RVs and that sort of thing, they are not built using solid structural materials. They're all super lightweight, thin. That's what they are designed for, is to be ultra lightweight. You're building a four-season home with far more mechanical and electrical and appliances,
and traditional
household
framing methods.
yeah, household appliances and that sort of thing. So just those you know, we hear it all the time. We'll bring our own trailer. You know, we'll get a bus or you know or something like that. Just yeah, it's just not the right choice. Please don't do that. I mean, at the very least, don't cheap out on your foundation. It's literally the foundation that your house is built on.
Trade-off. One of the reasons why we personally like trailer tiny homes on wheels is because that's an asset that's not attached to the property itself. So for individuals that are maybe putting them on as an in-law suite, so for your aging parent, if they pass and you decide that you no longer want that on your property any longer, well, no, now it's no longer an asset that is tied to your property. You can sell that home individually and transport it to a market across the globe. You're more likely going to be sticking to the continental area, but you have a huge market that this can then be sold to, as opposed to, well, now it's tied into the value of my house. Or for individuals that are looking for, as investors yourselves, if you're looking to do this as an experiential thing, one of the main benefits is if you own multiple properties, you can rotate out your stock of tiny homes seasonally so that each property can have a new rental seasonally, annually, etc. So huge added benefits of doing that. It is a little bit more difficult to go the permitted route if you are going on wheels, but there's always ways to work around that, especially with the certification that we carry on our homes. So certification, we keep on talking a lot about our certification. So at Acorn Tiny Homes, we are certified to CSA Z240MH standards. Now, what that means is we are certified as a manufactured home. Where that's very unique is a lot of other tiny house builders are certifying to RV standards. The downside being that RVs are only certified for 3-season livability. You cannot live in an RV year-round. Because we are certified as a manufactured house, our homes are certified for full-time livability. We are 4-season certified. That means you can also put it in as a permanent dwelling, regardless of whether it is on wheels or not. We do have to apply a foundation to the wheels in order to make it fully compliant with local building departments. And it is municipality to municipality dependent, not every. We'll get into this a little bit more, but there is some nuance behind that. However, the benefit of going with a CSA certification is that means you don't need a building permit to build a tiny house, a garden suite, when you get a certified home. All you need is a permit to install. So that changes the game enormously.
Wait times also with the city. Right?
Yeah, so you might wait months to get your initial approval, and then you might take weeks in order to try and schedule the local inspector to come out. Because everything is streamlined through our manufacturing facility, everything is done and scheduled months in advance, and they know exactly when they're going to be there, so that saves that hassle for you. Now, municipalities and insurance providers are, as a baseline, starting to require this. Bringing in an uncertified home trailer to your property, municipalities are not going to allow that because that is a huge liability risk. Same thing with insurers. They don't know if it's been wired correctly, if there's going to be flood issues because of the plumbing. There are some insurance companies that will allow it, but your rates are going to be significantly higher. So from a cost savings perspective, having that certification is extremely beneficial for you.
All right, customization. So there are very few builders left that do fully custom builds. And there's a reason for that. Usually these builders start off with doing fully custom because that's the passion. They want to do something different for every build. They don't want to do the same thing over and over, especially if you're an ADHD. You don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again. You want to keep it interesting. But the actual fact of the matter is, for a custom builder, you are spending as much time building a 20-foot house as you would be with a 40-foot house. You are still sourcing those materials. You are still spending the same amount of time consulting with the homeowner and building their dream house. A lot of builders have now realized that they have to offset the custom builds or go completely to doing models. Now, we have very recently started to, Acorn has very recently moved from fully custom, and now we are coming out with some semi-custom models. We really don't want to put a peg in it where they are just models. Again, we don't want to fit you into a box. With coming out with models is really now you're just saving the price on the engineering and the drawings and the renders and the stamps and the certifications and all that kind of stuff. So you're saving the money on that. So as long as you are happy with a particular floor layout, that design, everything else can be customizable. We're not just letting you choose your paint. We are letting you choose appliances, custom features, tile work, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we call our models more semi-custom models. So,
from an investor's perspective, one of the big benefits of going that custom route as well, or semi-custom, is again, if you have multiple properties, we can custom design around your specific needs. Whether you have a niche property and you're doing a yoga retreat, or a Alice in Wonderland theme garden or something like that. So that's where our customization really is key, because we can custom design or semi-custom our units to match the theme of your land, your park, your resort, whatever you're looking to do there. And from a more traditional aspect, if it's for a aging in place property for an elderly grandparent, we're able to do a lot of additional accessibility features, whether it's barrier-free washrooms and showers, to additional handrails, guardrails.
Accessibility, especially the in-law suites and the aging population and all that kind of stuff. So accessibility is becoming huge in tiny home builds. It's tough for an investor to want to get into those customized kind of features, because if you're doing a development, so it's tempting to go with the cookie cutter, just get them on the property, get them rented out, start making money. But the value is there to offer an experience, like what we were talking about, right? You can offer a very unique experience with tiny homes, not only just with the home itself, but with the location that you can put them in, okay? You can put them on a beautiful farm like this and give yourself an experience. You can add that into the experience of a venue, of a rental hall, and give the bride and groom a place to crash on the premises, right? So there are those added values to even existing properties, to facilities, to event spaces that are not very tapped yet.
So for a lot of people, this is the biggest shock factor. When they look at tiny, they think a tiny house because it's half the size. If there's the size, it's going to be a quarter of the cost. The only problem is all that we're eliminating in a tiny house is the void space, that wasted space of nothingness. You still have the exact same system and appliances, as Josh was saying, as a traditional house. So those are those baseline costs for a house. You're going to be spending $5,000 to $7,000 for kitchen appliances. If you're going for a tankless hot water heater, you're going to be paying, that $3,000 to $5,000 for that. It's not going to change just because it's smaller, unless you're just going for a small tanked hot water heater. Your appliances are still the same. So those are one of those things to kind of plan for if you're budgeting for something like this on your property as an investment. This is where the costs are.
And the reason why we've kind of separated systems appliances out from materials is because materials are a little scalable. Yes, materials and lumber and all that kind of stuff, yes, the prices have skyrocketed, but building tiny, you're not using as much as those building materials. So again, just wanted to point out for the investors, all right, there is a market for this and it is growing. The reports are in, the values are there, the market shares are being seen and witnessed. We are several years into this industry and it is not going anywhere. A couple of years ago, a lot of people were seeing this as a fad, as a phase. It wasn't going to stick. It wasn't ever going to be accepted. This was, people were calling, just fancier trailer parks and that kind of stuff. But I think now that all those stigmas are starting to be proven false. People are seeing the build quality and the beauty of these tiny homes. They are recognizing the housing crisis and that this is a legitimate alternative and an opportunity for investors. So, the reports are in. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get bigger. This is the future.
So one of the big things that's making this easier for us to get tiny homes, garden suites onto your property is Bill 108 and Bill 23. So that's the More Homes, More Choices Act and the More Homes Built Faster Act. So it's designed to make it easier for you to get different types of residences onto your property. So as a right, you will now be allowed to have up to 3 residents on what was otherwise a single residential property. So that means a standard home can now house up to 2 separate dwelling types. So typically that'll be a basement apartment and house itself, as well as an ADU in the back. So that ADU can be anything from a laneway house to a coach house to a garden suite or a tiny house on wheels. The only nuances behind that I mentioned earlier is that specific element is municipality dependent. So the province has left it up to every single municipality, township to create their own framework of what they're specifically going to allow under that 3 resident framework. So some will allow tiny houses on wheels, some specifically allow laneway houses. So there is a little bit of research required from everyone that is interested in doing this on their property as to what the city is going to allow. And I believe all of these municipalities have to the end of this year to have that framework in place and available for the general public's consumption. And the hugest benefit of this is all of these units are going to be exempt from development charges. So there are no developmental fees now for you to build these additional residences on your property, and none of these are going to require zoning amendments.
We know that there's a tremendous housing crisis, both in terms of rental homes and purchased homes. Do you think that is really how much is really driving the municipalities to really open up? Because there are some municipalities that really their residents, like, they don't want this. But is there a growing push to really say, hey, look, we need more housing stock in Canada, and so let's liberalize our laws and let's get this going? What are you finding?
People are getting on board. I think it's no secret about the housing crisis that is in Canada right now, and the costs associated with it. Not only is there a shortage of houses, but the costs are unaffordable.
Yeah.
So it's no secret. I think everyone is aware of that. Municipalities, and going back to the stigma that was a couple of years ago, where everyone thought, oh, tiny homes are just going to be a rundown trailer park that people are going to want to park in their backyards, and this is going to turn into a shanty town, and all that kind of stuff. I think even those stigmas are starting to be squashed now as well. They're still around, especially in smaller municipalities and that kind of stuff where they're not exposed to all this. But Toronto is very progressive in this field, and that is a really positive sign of things to come. If Toronto really gets on board, I think a lot of other areas will follow suit.
Okay. Wonderful. So thank you guys so much for having us. We are a SmartScale group of companies, and we'll try and keep things. I know we started a bit late. We're going to run a little long, so thank you everybody for your patience. So we are, we say group of companies. We have kind of three main pillars of our business. One is SmartScale Tiny Homes. So we have tiny home solutions, accessory dwellings, secondary dwelling units. Whether that's for, as we've kind of covered, whether that's for an aging population, young kids that can't get, into the market, or rental properties, some of you already have a duplex, already have a rental home, want to add some extra income. We also have our own development stuff. So, some of us were able to, talk earlier on. So we're constantly looking for land that we can develop. We are actively working with many, as many as four or five municipalities that we're actively working with to put in a pocket community, selling them on the idea that this isn't just a trailer park. This is a live-in, four-season, community-driven place where people can now have affordable housing, meet like-minded people, community gardens, community centers, really build it as that sense of a tiny home community or pocket community. And then the third portion is we are actually the supplier of the building product, which is kind of what you're seeing on the screen, which is a structural insulated panel. And for those of you who don't know, it's basically a Sept panel is comprised of your insulation, your framing members, and your sheathing on either side. In our case, we use a proprietary magnesium oxysulfite board. What differentiates that from a traditional Sept panel, which is usually OSB, like Orient Strand Board, ours is a non-combustible, fire-resistant, mold impervious to mold, so mold-resistant, water-resistant. You can actually submerge our panels in water; they will not lose structural integrity. No off-gassing or VOCs. So our partner, a company called ZS2 Technologies, out of Calgary, they are the inventor and creator of this product. It was through a PhD chemist that created a formula for this that removed all the chloride. And they've actually embedded some carbon capture technology as well. So it is a approved green building product with a high focus on sustainability, energy efficiency, speed of construction, which we'll certainly speak to. But yeah, so it's, we'll jump into speed a bit, but, we kind of talked about, Acorn being kind of modular, building a manufactured home in a factory. We are kind of a hybrid between the manufactured housing and traditional build, meaning our building envelope, so your floor system, wall systems, and roof systems are done on a CNC machine, pre-cut in a factory, manufactured, flat packed, and shipped to site, where then they can be rapidly installed on site, reducing the labor on site by anywhere from 55 to 60%. So a building envelope, for example, using the tiny home model, a building envelope of that size, our models go up to about 700 square feet, 705 to be precise. And that building envelope on site can be assembled in about 2 to 3 business days. Yeah.
Are you selling then kits for DIY or something?
Absolutely, yeah. So that is an option that's available. Our product is available for other builders. We we can talk offline about, stuff like that. But yeah, we absolutely will have, other builders that they can use our product for their envelope and then still finish everything else exactly the way they want it to. As it stacks up, as we said, talking about the flame resistance. So our system does have a 1 hour fire rating. It is CCMC compliant, meets all Ontario building codes. It is stronger, it is safer, it is faster than traditional stick framing. In fact, about 2.5 to 3 times stronger. So our panel system, because of the way it's designed, you actually can frame your structural supports every 48 inches, and it will actually support upwards of 30,000 pounds of dead load on that system, which is far beyond what a stick frame, even on framing on 16 centers, you still won't be able to get that kind of load capacity from it. So that's kind of the background of where we come from is building stronger, safer, faster. Once again, we agree. I think that you guys kind of spoke to not having the noise, the disruption, the mess, on site. People don't want that disruption in their lives. What's great, like I said, about our system is that envelope is built in 2 to 3 days. Another day or 2 days, you have your windows, doors in. You're essentially dried in inside the first week, and then we're another 1 to 2 weeks to finish the inside. So you have from start to finish on site 3 weeks of build time. Now that doesn't account for some manufacturing time. Similarly to a manufactured home, it does take 2 to 3 weeks for production in the manufacturing facility. Currently, it's still about another week in order to get it delivered because the manufacturing is out of Alberta for the time being. That will change. We're actively, as this continues to grow in Ontario, there is a full intention with our partner to bring manufacturing into Ontario. But essentially, we are from the time we submit for permits, we are looking at somewhere between about an 8 to a 12 week completion. So from permit to build.
So are you prefabbing the interior as well, just installing that on site?
So we are. So we're doing some of the stuff that we can. So yeah, we will pre-cut casings. We will baseboards, pre-paint, pre-cut. Because we do have all the sizes there. We know what everything's going to be. So some of the stuff we will. Other stuff we will do just on site, traditionally. So an interior wall, we will stick frame, we'll run our plumbing through it, we'll put our panels in it. So that way we're not breaking up our continuous insulation and our continuous air barriers. There's going to be no thermal bridging. And what's nice is you are going to see increased energy efficiencies, anywhere from 35 to 40% more efficient. In regards, that's where most of your heat loss comes from, gaps and thermal bridging, windows where they're not, where maybe it's not the tightest seal, things like that. In fact, Sept homes have proven to be about 85% better on a blower test, in reduction in air loss. You'll see kind of that's, no, go back that one for a minute, actually. So this is kind of just a overhead view of kind of what that community may look like. So similar, like we said, there's one thing cookie cutter. Everyone wants to do cookie cutter. That's what's so great about someone like an Acorn Tiny Homes is it's not all cookie cutter. Same with ours. We can put different roof pitches on. We can put different elevations. We can make 2-story, 1-story. There's a lot of different ways to differentiate those homes, even though they're similar footprints and maybe similar styles, similar costs, but there are ways to vary it. So it does have more of a customized feel, and it doesn't feel so cookie cutter. I mean, I know personally, I can't stand that when you drive into a subdivision and every house just looks the same. And they're all backed onto one another, and that's not appealing. So that's kind of what the concept that we've been working with those municipalities on, and kind of presenting them as, whether it be a retirement home, whether, instead of a traditional retirement home, a lot of people, my grandparents included, good luck putting them into a retirement home. No way, no how. They'll stay in their home until the very last minute possible. This gives them an opportunity to have their own space, but still experience that, with a community center in the middle. They can still go and play bridge. They can still go have meals together. They can still interact with peers and be full of life and keep them young. But they also have their own space. They can go back and they have their own quiet space to move into. It can be used as student housing, nursing housing. Collingwood, when we met with the town of Collingwood recently, they have a huge shortage in housing for firemen and paramedics in particular. So that can be a great way to address some of those needs for some of those demographics where it is especially on the earlier stages, they don't necessarily have the high income yet. They're still getting into the field. That allows them now a community where they can once again kind of work together, meet each other, and go from there. Most of our tiny homes can actually be produced in about 2 to 3 weeks. We allot 4 to 6 to give us extra time for shipping. And if there is a backlog in the system, if there is, one of our pocket communities where, 100 of these things are being made, that's going to delay production slightly, although it also will trigger manufacturing in Ontario. So likely we'll be able to offset that time at some point. Once it arrives on site, as I said, about 2 to 3 days, envelope is fully done. Your floor system, your wall system, your roof. Once again, to be clear, the foundational work and some of the pre-service work will be done before that. So our systems are designed to work on helical piles with our insulated panel floor system. But we also can design them slab on grade. We can put them on a full basement poured concrete foundation. It is not limited to that. At that point, it just might change the rest of the system. We might take out the insulated floor system, put it on slab on grade, and just use the walls and the roof. We allow 2 to 3 days, and then from there, once again, about 1 to 2 weeks to do the exterior finishing. So that's whether you're using siding. We do have a really cool cork stucco product that we work with. It does once again have some insulated properties. Not that you need it. Our panel standard would come at R24 on a 6.5 inch wall, R27 on a 6 or 8.25 inch ceiling, and we can actually increase that R value just by changing the type of foam. So that would be with a standard EPS 1. You can use type 2, type 3, or even a graphite EPS. Max width at about 11.25 inches. That would generate R value upwards of R59, I believe, was the maximum that they've been able to get it up to. Using a graphite foam and an 11.25 inch panel.
Heat your house with a candle,
Literally with a candle. It's remarkable. Even just using, like I said, the Sept panel system alone, because it does provide that tighter building envelope and no breaks in your insulation, no breaks in your air barrier. We are using small mini splits, mini split units to heat and cool those units incredibly efficiently. And then, once again, about 1 or 2 weeks for your interior finishes. Some of that can be going on simultaneously. Generally we will have, whether it's our crew or if you have your own contractor, once again, the nice thing about ours is there is the option you can have us come do it start to finish. If you live really far away, like we could sell this to someone in New Brunswick and we can ship it out there and they can have their contractors. We might have to assist with the envelope process if they're not familiar with how to build with SIPs, because there are some different connection details and it's just something that's very easy to put together, but it's different than what they're used to. So we'll provide support through that process. And then after that, their contractors can come in, finish the rest of it. Great for the DIYer, someone that is handy, can lay flooring, can do baseboards, can install cabinetry, things like that. Wonderful. All the power to you. If that allows you to save some money, that's something you enjoy doing, gives you, some joy to finish it yourself and have that feeling of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is there, but, accomplishment and gratification. For sure. So and that basically gets you to, like I said, from start to finish, you're looking at about an 8 to 12 week cycle. Once again, caveat, every municipality is different, and that permitting process may take, it might take 10 days, it might take 30 days. So obviously we try not to really encapsulate that in our timeline because that's really out of our control. We'll do everything we can. Like I said, we have great relationships with a lot of the municipalities. We're building better relationships every day with the ones that we're, as we're getting more and more projects in different areas. So that does help to speed along the process, and once again, the adoption from a lot of municipalities is really great. I spoke briefly to Hamilton, which I don't know if everybody heard, because it was kind of off the side, but Hamilton actually just introduced an accessory dwelling unit team. So they actually have 4 or 5 plans examiners that are exclusively looking at accessory dwelling units. So yeah, they are really kind of starting to see the need, address the need, and actually take action to help people get this through the system a little quicker. Does anybody still have the energy gas?
What is comparatively to a typical, studded, insulated wall? What is the cost comparison?
Great question. So it's I'm going to talk to it on 2 different levels. So the material cost is definitely more expensive up front, no question. Material, you're probably looking at about anywhere from a 30% increase in material. However, you are reducing your labor by anywhere from 55 to 60%. So as a whole, you're actually very, very close to what you would see in a stick build, plus or minus 5 to 10% at most. And that could go either way, depending on same thing, size, efficiency, how, does the crew actually, are they working at the speed and capacity they're supposed to? Yeah, literally 5 to 10% on either way, more expensive, more or less.
So, why we're here today is because Canada actually has a pretty big issue. Canada needs better housing. It's just not right now. Right now, it's inefficient, it's unaffordable, and honestly, not very effective. I spent the last few years working on houses, working on building houses, from framing to renovations, and working in condos as well. And it's just, things aren't designed well, things aren't thought out well. They're just, at this point, just throwing them out there as fast as possible and not thinking about the actual person. And so we're going to try to do something about that. So that's why I brought the SmartScale and Acorn today here to talk about it. Let's talk about tiny homes, which I think is a solution. So this is what it looks like right now. You got tons of suburbs, lots of roads. I don't know if you guys like this very much. I don't personally.
You can put the houses in between the trees.
Yes, and put the houses in between the trees, yes. Yeah, so there is trees here, but this division is probably in the middle of nowhere with very little access to anything that you would actually want or need.
No,
And
Probably built around a Costco.
and there may be a Costco 15 minutes away, maybe, if you're lucky.
like
Probably not
everything's
to a box for
maybe
it,
like
just
15 to 20 minutes out.
Yeah, exactly. So they're built with traditional framing, as they talked about earlier. Sept is an option instead of this. The main issue with this is not necessarily that it's not well designed. Traditional framing can work quite well. The problem is you have to have people there that are highly skilled and also willing to actually do it, right? And it's, from experience, not the easiest work.
I don't know those.
Yeah.
Scale people out.
And then people make mistakes, and then a lot of money can be lost from small little mistakes made by unskilled laborers who were thrown on a job.
There are more inspections that fail than you guys think. Having skilled framers is starting to be a lost art.
It's an issue. It's a major issue.
We don't need them anymore. Now we have Sept.
We have Sept. We don't need the
We
framers
don't need
anymore.
framers. See you later, framers. And
So
drywall.
that's
Yeah, we're all of you. You're all done.
so that's why we're here today. Get rid of the framers. I'm a framer. I don't want to do it anymore.
No. Throw you against all family.
So, with these houses and this framing, this is what we have right now. And we can't blame this on the government, unfortunately. We can blame a little bit, maybe, But we can't blame all of it on the government, unfortunately. We can blame it on the way we design houses and the way we build them. So we have a plan here at MonX Design. The plan is, first of all, what we're offering right now, which is tiny house there. We call it hone because we're honing in on what we think is the best way to build a house. And we're offering experiences. If you notice in tiny house there, the space tells you what it is. I haven't hidden anything in there. You can see the boiler, you can see the reinforcement of the walls, you can see everything.
That skylight is to die for.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, that thing's amazing.
What's interesting that you actually bring that up is exposing the infrastructure of the house as being a design element. It kind of reminds me of like even how computer building has come from, you know, now everything is exposed and it's a designer element to see the interior, right? It'll be interesting to see whether that really takes off.
We'll talk a little more on that in a moment. So
Pipeline-
the second
pipeline
part,
can be really sexy.
the second part I call SOL, short form solutions. This part is about ADUs. This is about actually taking the communities that are doing it right, that are making suburbs, the places like Toronto and small downtowns where they're actually doing it right. We add additional units, we add new homes to, as we were talking about Bill 108, I think it was, adding more units to the places that are most in demand, I think is the second most important aspect. Third aspect is actually building new communities, reinventing what a community is. So that can be like Toronto. There's many communities. I spent a lot of time recently in North York, and these are places that I feel are so much better. And so we want to go back to why are these places more desirable, and how do we bring that desirability to the new communities, like tiny home communities that we're building, because we don't want to just make more suburbs with tiny homes. That's not what I want to do. And so that's why that is going to be down the line and not something we're doing right now. So, what are we offering right now? So, talking about the design of the tiny house inside. So we're bringing, with home, we're bringing it back down to the fundamentals. We are breaking down the home to its simplest state, offering an experience, an honest experience that is just the basics, right? Just the basic, everything that needs to be in the home is there, nothing more. And we're offering that as an experience that you can enjoy in one of our homes by someone who's renting it. So we're selling them so people can rent them. We're gonna have some as well. We just got approved for funding to start our next build. To build another one, obviously you can enjoy that one. All right. So going with that, the other aspect that is fundamental to a home is actually the water and the power that you need, right? So we want our homes like they did back in the day, like our farmhouse here. Everything was there. You didn't need to get to a grid connection. Obviously, right now, people have a much higher expectation of what they need in their house than my grandparents or my ancestors, my great-grandparents. But we think we can still do it. We think that that's still something that can be a thing, that you can have your own home, you can have the water, you can have the power, you can have it all without having to be connected to a grid. So you can have all the fundamentals without having to be connected to someone else. So we're offering tiny house at $140,000 and the off-grid package for $40,000. So we're looking to let you guys order them for your short-term rental. So what does it look like? So our occupancy rate is about 75% and earns about $1,900 a month of net income. So as you can see, it kind of goes up and down, but generally around 3,000 in revenue that ends up after lease costs, utilities, supplies, and management. So we're going to offer all these services to help you set up your tiny house, to get a lease, to find a location, to get a lease. We offer our partners that have management services, and we're going to run all this for you.
Sorry, this number is for the unit up here? Like this is the number, actual number for this unit?
For this,
Okay.
Very cool.
that was
Just
just
unit
showcase. We're obviously changing a few elements about it.
Okay.
And so the one we're going to be building is going to be exact replica of what we're going to be offering.
That's smart. That's really smart.
So what is possible? This is a community. I don't know if that's the exact community of what you want, but it's an example. With our tiny home or any of the tiny homes available here, we can start building new communities with an off-grid package or similar would allow you to build them basically anywhere without having to rely on power and water from town. Affiliates, yeah. So we're offering an affiliate program. So if you're a realtor, we're offering about 5% commission on the first 5 sales. So to give you a kickback if you're promoting our offerings.
And then, because like from an investor standpoint, they're always going to want to know how long will it take them to break even based on the monthly cost.
Yeah. So seems I forgot to add that in there. But the average is about 5 years if you don't finance it. If you're going for a cash-on-cash return, it's about 3 or so years, just over 3 years.
Okay.
So right now we're expecting a down payment of $42,000, which is about 30%. So you can make a cash-on-cash return on that investment in around 3 years.
And then for financing, I really, if you did the financing, how would that work?
Yeah, so basically, we're offering them as basically an RV, right? So the financing is with a company called Canadian Financial. So they only finance mobile homes, tiny homes on wheels at this point. And so they'll just apply with them. They're basically treating it as a luxury RV. So you're gonna have the necessary securities to do that financing.
Your off-grid package, is that kind of a one-size-fits-all, or do you scale that based on their needs, the house's needs?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We've designed the off-grid package to meet basically the maximum of what we feel a home could need. So we are gonna offer, for now we're gonna offer the first off-grid package, and we're gonna have one that's double the size as kind of like a no compromise, covers everything kind of package. So the normal off-grid package really only covers about like the main power use obviously is going to be an air conditioner. So you're going to be able to run the air conditioner about 4 hours a day. So depending on how the house exactly is sitting and everything, that may be enough, it may not be. Yeah. Well, yeah, so we're mainly designing it to go with our tiny homes, but it could go with another tiny home, depending on what their power use is, what their water use is. We designed ours to use as little power and as little water as possible to make the maximum running times for it.
And so obviously it's solar with
Yeah.
what is your water is just a tank, or is it a cistern, rain capture? Where are you getting water from?
Yeah, so the rainwater is going to be rain capture with basically a roof that's going to extend off of it. So it's to maximize surface area there.
But is it the main source of the water?
That is your main source, yeah. So you're collecting, we've done the calculation for how big a roof needs to be to get enough water. And then gonna have a tank that'll last you a month's worth of water, so that if you have a month of drought, you're not gonna be screwed.
Yeah, you'd be surprised with how quickly you can fill your tank up with rain.
Yeah.
However large you think you need your cistern, double it.
How are you
Go bigger.
keeping the water from freezing in winter?
Yeah, so that one's kind of just it's open. This one obviously is closed. That's kind of just so you can see inside of it. It's going to be
So it's
closed up
enclosed.
and insulated and heated, so that the water doesn't freeze.
So if you had, say, 500 tiny homes in a community that was developed, do you get to a point where, with that many homes, that you actually start to centralize water collection and solar and wind
Yeah, I
power
think
and
if
all
you're
that, and then gets sort of like, it becomes more effective to do that on a large scale, and then everybody feeds off that, as opposed to each home having their own sources of water and power?
Yeah, if you're doing a big enough community, you're probably just going to dig a well, right, or something like that. Would probably be the most sense at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Cause you gotta make half that shed.
Yeah. So there's going to be some extra storage space in there, so you can.
Yeah.
We're going to iterate on this in the future. Maybe add an extra washroom in it.
That's cool.
Get creative, right?
Yeah.
The great thing
Well,
about
I mean,
this, again, with what he was saying earlier about mobility, is that this is also going to be mobile, right?
Cool.
So if you want to move it from a new location to another one, right? You can do that. So your investment's covered. If you want to set up, in some random field and just do it hush hush, you can do that as well.
Nice township.
Yeah, but no settling at Walmart parking lot.
So, I've heard they frown upon that.
You tow this behind your tiny home.
What's that saying? Don't ask for forgiveness.
Don't ask for permission. It's easier to
It's
beg
easier to
for
ask,
forgiveness
yeah.
than ask for permission. Once a great car audio salesman once told me that. It worked.
And so, just to be clear, you feel that having an off-grid kit separate from the main tiny house is really required. Like, that's really necessary. You can't.
Yeah.
There's not enough roof space on an average tiny home, et cetera, to generate what you need.
Because I see this thing is almost the same size as the tiny house.
Yeah.
So you'd have to double your size of your tiny house, which obviously you could do that. But not everybody's gonna want this, right? So it's like
The solar, you have the roof space on a tiny home, you don't have the tank space.
yeah.
Anyone that's doing rain capture or cistern will have a tank beside their house.
beside it.
It's just, there's not enough space. And you also don't want to inbuild a tank because of the weight.
Yeah.
You know?
I was even
And the loss of floor space or too low or anything like that.
Right.
So
That makes sense.
I was talking to Minimalist at the Tiny Home Show a few weeks back, I guess it was. And even they were agreeing, like they had a tiny house there with the solar on the roof. But even they were agreeing, like it's, in their opinion, it's not the optimal solution because you then have to dedicate a good portion of the inside for battery storage as well as electrical. And then obviously the idea of putting holes in your roof is not so appetizing to me.
But my point is the reason why I like this is even when I'm designing off-grid systems for our clients, if they are taking it to a property and even if it's a tow, but they don't plan on moving it all that often, I say if it is an option, save the money, build a shed, or if you have a gooseneck home, build, enclose the gooseneck so that you have a built-in shed. Make that kind of your battery storage area and go with lead acid. Save the money because you have the space. Weight isn't a concern. You could have a ton of off-grid battery storage for a very reasonable price. The solar panels are incredibly cheap now. Batteries are cheap. Lithium is coming down in price. Lead acid is very cheap. It really just comes down to the space and weight.
I'll throw one other caveat on there too. Some municipalities and some individuals themselves don't like the idea of having their charging system and their batteries maybe like right under their bed or next to where they sleep, just in case it's a catastrophic failure. I don't know if you know anything about lithium batteries, but they light up pretty quick. So it's a good idea to have them in a separate, safe, fireproof area.
And even so, I said
Let's move on from that.
there's
I just
you
want to
have
make sure
to
we
watch
got
the
everybody's
chemical
questions
gassing
taken
stuff
care
like
of.
that. A lot of people don't like them in their houses. You can't. You'll die.
Does anybody have any questions that they're just dying to ask?
Just
I just want to
ask.
I'm hesitated now. I have a question that's not non-technical. It's about like what like for an investor who lives in Toronto and he doesn't have any land to park this unit on. So what opportunities such a unit he can do, like he can make benefit of to buy one as a passive investment? And this question might for you and for all the previous speakers as well.
Yeah, so for me,
I mean anyone can answer.
Karen sells land. Just give her number. She'll find him a piece of land.
She has
Yeah,
a
you
plan.
can. We'll find
She
you.
has
Karen's got you covered. No, there are, but I mean, that was we talked a bit on hockey communities, tiny little communities. A lot of those will be set up. No, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it depends on what municipality. But one of the premises of it is the idea that they can purchase the home and lease the land, and then they can rent out that home on said land to cover. So that way, it's not in their backyard. It's just an investment property offsite. It's essentially buying another investment property. And so that opportunity will, as the municipalities start to adopt this concept and then start to approve these concepts, that will certainly be one for an investor like that, where they can pick a community anywhere they want and purchase a home and stick it on the piece of land and rent it out and have residual monthly income.
Now, one of the caveats to these resort communities that are popping up, they are becoming very popular. There's a lot of developers and investors going into this stuff. But you have to read the fine print because a lot of them are not true for season. They're only, what is it, like you need to get out for at least 2 weeks.
Right, exactly.
And it's a way that they curtailed some bylaws and some municipality mandates is by not making it a year-round dwelling. So they may kick you out for a couple of weeks every year. So yeah, just read the fine print on those resort properties.
Yeah, so as he was saying, that's our main focus is you get a lease on the land and we help you set it up, we help you get it managed, get everything sorted out so that it's pretty much just passive for you and everything's sorted out.
Is there some sort of like private landowners for such a thing? Like, is it something popular or not? Like private, not a resort.
It's not popular, but it is done. It's normally traditionally done off market, and it's normally from like a farmer or someone who bought a piece of land and they're now willing to lease portions of that land to others, but it's done privately. It's not done in the traditional sense of real estate.
Typically, you see done through like Kijiji or flyering campaigns.
There also could be opportunities to finance as a private individual, where there's a lot of people that need these, that want them, that have the want or the need for them, but don't have the ability to finance them. And there's a lot of ways to connect to those people. I mean, we've talked to lots of people over the last few months, from before and after the Tiny Home Show, where they're like, I love everything about it. I want one. I have the land. I have the capability, but I have no way of getting the money for it. So that could be another great way as an investor to come in and just take a return on your investment, finance the build, and they start bringing you that monthly income, and then you're just getting paid out your dividend or your percentage.
Or
refi it, or refi it, or
it would be great if this whole tiny home movement could be kind of a, not necessarily a new way, but maybe in some sense a new way for average Canadians who can't get into the home ownership market to begin to do that. And we could see sort of almost like kind of a social movement of people being able to, find a home at last, where before it was totally unaffordable.
We'll definitely need a tiny bar then as well.
Sorry?
A tiny bar.
Yeah, because you're buying something that's much smaller in lower in value than your 1.5 million house. So it'd be great if you could. Is there that kind of a sense with this whole tiny home industry that there's kind of like a social good sort of element to it, or
immensely, yeah. That is 100% the feel of the community. We're involved in a lot of the social media, the Facebook groups, like tiny home, related community and Facebook groups. That is 100% the vibe.
A lot of people have the same mentality.
Yeah.
It's lowering our footprint. It's being
More
more
outdoor living.
conscious, environmentally, socially. Not needing all the space and the storage and stuff like that. Having more outside space.
Right.
It definitely is a mentality.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's why Acorn itself was founded. My wife and I found we were expecting, we were tired of renting, we could not afford to get a house ourselves, with both of us being business owners. So we decided to go tiny. So we built our first tiny house, which is our personal dwelling. We've lived in it for 3 years now, and that's what launched the company. Is through our need to find affordable housing. We wanted to share what we created with others. So now we've launched our company as a result of those values and ethics.
That's awesome. That's great.
All right, guys, we are out of time.
Good job.
Thanks for coming.